It's what comes after the social media era of musicians, or will it remain? I don't know.
Is this a question that somebody asked?
Yes.
So that was their question. What comes after the social
she
media?
Said, I don't know afterwards. Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully, just normal musicians again. It's a crazy question, isn't it? I don't know. I think it's before I got into social. All I did was play with my band and teach, and then suddenly I did nothing for about a year, just teaching. And I did no I had no creative outlet. So I started my YouTube channel. It was about January, maybe 5-6 years ago now. And I think I just suddenly had to teach myself lighting, sound, all these different things. So it kind of you become 5 different people working for yourself at home. And sometimes I feel like I love it because it's kept me relevant and I've met so many cool people, including other members of my new band. But sometimes I find myself doing less music because of that, and because I've got so many kind of other things to focus on. But I think, I don't know. I can't even begin to predict what would be next. I think that musicians and influencers are kind of one now. And you can have an album out and also be doing a paid ad for something on the side at the same time. You see that with actors as well, What do you think? I don't know. I'm struggling to kind of.
I don't get asked the questions.
I'm flipping it on you straight away.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the observation that I discussed with a couple of previous guests is how something that I find interesting is that you've got this kind of cycle where culture and immediate influences can make their way into music just sort of like that, because if you hear a song you really like from a certain guitar player, certain guitar player's part of that song, someone else probably will transcribe that within about 2 weeks. And you could learn that, and then you could have that influence and put that out into your own music. So you could essentially be influenced by something that came out less than a month ago, whereas obviously a while back it maybe wasn't so easy just to take in an influence and then output that influence in your own music. So I think it's interesting that you get this closer and closer cycle of the influence or the influencer in terms of the band that you're influenced by is a lot closer to the music that comes out following it, if that makes sense. Something I've kind of noticed now.
And more of an immediate knock-on effect, you mean?
Yeah.
No, I get what you mean. And I think as well, you even see the person themselves talking more about it creatively now. John Mayer does these little videos where he pops up and he's like, this is what I'm doing. It's you can't argue with that lesson. You could argue with me trying to teach John Mayer. It's you're a bit wrong. It's okay, but I'm not John Mayer. But, you go to the source and... you can have something transcribed out, explained to you, and incorporate that yourself, like you said, within a couple of weeks. Maybe that means that genres and trends will just kind of seem to move a lot quicker and not be decade-spanned eras as they were. So traditionally in the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, I think, 90s, there's just a lot more happening at the same time nowadays, isn't there, of everything, I think. Maybe that's because of it.
So you had your hair metal, you had grunge, you had all these different eras and sort of prog music and all kind of things that have had their era. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me what era of, if we went to just specifically rock music or not, that kind of broad stroke kind of genre, if you said to me what period of that are we in right now, I'd be I don't really know.
We are in all of the periods.
We're kind of just all over the place with it. Yeah, it's kind of cool because it means there's more. I think it's a double-edged sword because there's more stuff out there. There's just purely more music because more people can put music out, which is good. But then there's two things in that: one, a lot of them can end up sounding quite similar, and two, you end up then, like I said, with these immediate influences where you hear something and then you kind of hear the same thing from like another band 3 months later. So it's a tricky one. And actually, one of the questions I kind of I really related to your when you were talking about magazines, like the old guitar magazines.
Oh, nice! Yeah, that was cool. I like that video.
Yeah, because my dad. So basically, I sort of inherited them from my dad almost, in that he would kind of make me, or he would show me them, and then I'd kind of end up reading through them and stuff. And I remember you used to mention the Paul Gilbert Shred. School of Shred. Yeah. I mean, at the point I was looking at them, I was only a kid. They were like, that was pointless to me. Like, there's no way I was ever kind of looking at that. But something I was kind of, I wonder, because I noticed kind of trying to take in a bit about what your music kind of taste is. A lot of the kind of classic rock influences that I can kind of see in your, in your interests and what you know, the things you make videos about, or the stuff you put together. It's more a lot of the classic rock kind of stuff. And I kind of think, do you think there's anything that maybe modern musicians are missing out on, maybe lessons that they could take in from some of these musicians sort of from maybe pre-2000s that they're kind of maybe missing out on because they're so obsessed with the sort of modern era of music?
I don't know. I guess it's funny you mentioned that, though. So if you've watched that video, like where I talked about all the magazines, I think that's actually kind of melded in with the Chris book. Oh, no, the magazine one isn't. That's a different video I did. Yeah, the magazine one is just like how my granddad used to buy me the magazines every week and everything. And about having that champion in your corner, isn't it? Someone to support you and spur you on. But I think when you said about my influences, they appear to be, they are very much kind of like, you know, classic rock. I'd say that's what kind of taught me initially when I was buried in the magazines, and that's what I was fascinated by. I was born late 80s, so kind of first started listening to, you know, well, and remembering songs early 90s, but that was, you know, whatever my parents and my grandparents passed on to me. But my first band that I was in, and the first musicians that I started knocking around with, were very much inspired and brought up on stuff like the Smiths, XTC, Joy Division. And whilst my family do like that, it wasn't as apparent to me that I should be getting into it when I was learning guitar. I was like, I want big, chunky power chords and like flash solos. So I learned a lot of that stuff, but then I kind of revisited it when I started teaching again more seriously after my band. So the classic rock kind of came back to play in my early 20s. So it appears to be like the biggest influence, but as a writer and someone who, like, you know, released albums and then toured, I'm more kind of, I think, inspired by like these fiddly King Crimson-esque alternative riffs, because that's where I kind of cut my teeth playing live. So I have this kind of weird mix. If you see me sort of like writing or noodling for a bit, you wouldn't think it's classic rock. I just shared a video the other day on my Instagram, which is like me just kind of playing in Lydian, which is like this trippy, like Pat Metheny-esque kind of, almost like guitar phasing by itself pattern. And I end up always being drawn to that kind of playing. I think if you looked at someone like, if you compare someone like Tim Henson, like Polyphia, like as a modern player, and what would they be missing? I mean, he kind of objects to like boomer bends and doesn't want to play and all that. You know, I've seen all that stuff. I have said openly, like, I refuse to let the modern generation take away something staple, like you can't bend a note and you can't do this because you're a boomer. Because like it's a beautiful thing on the electric guitar to bend a note. But he's not missing anything, that guy, as a modern player. He's just invented his own style and sound that's like, it's so precise and like mechanically perfect, but it's very musical at the same time. So there'll be influences in there, and he'll have listened to those players, but does things in his own way. So I don't know. I don't think you're ever missing anything, because you might not always know like the full backstory to what they listen to or something. It's hard for me to kind of pass judgment on it, but
yeah. I was I think with because Tim Henson it's a weird one with because a lot of guitar purists don't like his approach because it's not the traditional guitar sound.
Do you know why they don't like his approach? Because it's well hard. How many people don't like things, but really they do?
Yeah, I mean, it's
hate their new car, hate it. But I love
those
it.
Teslas. I just
exactly. Who'd have a Tesla? Get a Mustang. I mean, I like both, and I know where we're at in the environment right now. But I'm just saying that it's sometimes born out of envy. You say things you don't mean. I think he's phenomenal. I've worked out a couple of his songs for like students who've said, "Can I do this riff?" And I'm like, "You can, but that's going to be my homework for the week." And, but. Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. There was a period where I would look with envy, and then I realized actually I'm missing out on listening to things that I'm actually fascinated by because I'm a bit intimidated that I can't do it as well.
Yeah,
you've got to let that go, otherwise you end up really bitter.
Yeah. What can you think of, to put you on the spot, can you think of the last guitarist or musician that you've looked at and caught yourself going, screw that guy, I wish, but then you realise actually, he's actually just really good, and actually I need to pay some attention to that. Can you think of one that comes to mind? The funny thing is, the reason I say this is because I chatted to, I don't know if you've seen Cameron Brown on Instagram, guitar player. He does a lot of like EVH kind of stuff, but he also does, you'll probably recognise him. I'll maybe point you out. Point him out.
I'm not familiar straight off. No,
okay,
I don't recognise the name either.
Yeah, well, I'll show you. You might recognise him if I show you. But I was saying to him on a podcast, I was like, I remember seeing your videos years ago and being like, screw this guy, because he's really good. And you get in your own head about it sometimes in that sort of comparing. And then actually, if you just sit back and think about it, you can actually just appreciate what they do. But can you think of, do any come to mind where you think, the last one where you think, I should have actually, almost let the ego go a bit and just appreciate them for what they do?
I've kind of, I've made a real conscious effort to bury any kind of negativity like that for quite a while. That I can't. It's probably like a few years since I've done that. But I can tell you the players that I look at now with some absolute like awe, like some of the stuff that they come out with. I'm trying to think though. I think what bothered me sometimes, really, where I wouldn't look at stuff is maybe other people's content. To be honest, if it looked great and was attracting views, and I thought, like, why haven't I got that when I'm putting in X? But it's a dangerous place to live in because you start to sound entitled when you've just got to enjoy it first, put out the content you want. Because no one deserves to be anywhere else other than where they're at, basically, through their own work. But I don't know. I haven't looked at anyone, honestly, for ages and just thought, screw this person. Can you swear, by the way, on here?
I do all the time.
I was just going to say, given the name of the podcast, and it's like, yeah. So, yeah, I've not... I'm trying to think. Do you know one of the most inspirational guitarists that I've seen at the moment is Larry Basilio? Do you know her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Outrageous. Like, I love watching her play, and the lines, it's always so catchy and so tasteful. There'll have been some envy there, like, but I can't remember the last person I was like, screw you. So
I can't. I mentioned that Cameron because I only mentioned it because I actually said to him in the podcast a few years back when I was still kind of like finding my feet with guitar a bit. I said to him, I was like, I remember seeing your videos, and like purely just because he was doing really well and he was really good. And one thing that's really interesting that you said is that it's more on the content where you might find yourself comparing. It's really interesting that as musicians, you talk about the modern day musician having to be 5 different people. I nearly said 5 guys, but it made me think of burgers, and it's nearly lunchtime, so I'm thinking about that. But the fact that it's interesting that you're more drawn to the idea of comparison to others when it comes to views and content than guitar, because maybe it indicates an idea that actually what's making us as musicians envious and bringing out the sort of more negative, egotistical things is the content, not the music itself and the views on the content.
It's kind of like the modern marker of success, though, isn't it? I mean, if you release a video and it gets a shitload of views and likes straight away, you do feel good. If you go a bit viral and you get more followers, you feel great. So you might look at something that you don't think's that great, but it's done really well. TikTok's the place that'll happen to you. And you think, I spent X amount of time doing this.
I'm sorry, but that short little, just the way you went, that was just exactly what I do on a regular basis when you see something like, why is that doing that?
Yeah, someone just like faking an argument outside Aldi because they're outraged about someone's nicked their trolley. And you've spent ages crafting a lesson on why this song is really good and this, and you teach it. And you get 800 views, you're like, I don't know.
800? Luxury.
Yeah. But when you get more, when you get 8,000 on something, that's the new look. That's the, you know what I mean? So then you're like, it's like being in the charts. You have a number one and then you keep chasing them. And then you see those people who are like, oh, I only got to number 3.
Yeah.
I'll take the number 3.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, well, all my experience in the charts, I can tell you that's, yeah. But no, I can see what you mean. That it's weird how relative. Another thing I think I try and think about more is a couple of things. One is what you talked about the feeling of deserving something. I think that's been my number one source of grief, has been thinking I deserve something, whether I do or not, whether I, in the grand scheme of things, have deserved, quote unquote, to get somewhere or, play a certain gig or get this many views on something. That's been my number one source of grief recently, and it's just trying to get out of that mindset is quite tricky, especially when, like you said, the marker of success is just that little graph of how many views you've got,
Well, do you know what though? Like, I'm not flying by any means. You might think, like I've recently flew on Instagram and TikTok because I had some viral videos, and that all came about kind of coincidentally, and it was fortunate, and I'm really grateful. And it's kind of like calmed down a little bit now and sort of plateaued. But I've just got this following I never thought I'd ever amass there, which is amazing. But when you said about kind of getting out of that mindset and that being your triggering like grief and feeling down, for me, when I felt like that, I realized that what I actually needed to do was stop procrastinating, stop moaning, and just actually like get up and like plan and script a video. I love to just get up and go. I like to sit down sometimes, just like switch the camera. I just want to be doing it. I feel anxious, and it's like as soon as I'm recording, I'm fine. But I make such better content when I kind of look at what's going on in the world, flick through a couple of magazines that I've got on subscription and be like, okay, this is current, this might be good. People have asked me for this video. More people have asked me for this. I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it because they say it's more popular. So about letting go of maybe the ideas that you think deserve to be well received and what actually people want, and kind of compromising with your audience and actually listening to them. But just planning, prepping, and being more organized, a bit more disciplined, like getting out, going to the gym, trying to work out a bit more, which I just didn't do for years. And I feel better. It's like surely not coincidental that when I've started getting my shit together and being a bit more organized, proactive, healthier, I've had some more success, and it started to go like this rather than this, which it was for a bit.
And for audio listeners, just pointed in all sorts of directions.
Oh yes, for audio.
Yeah.
So I went uphill.
You went from this to this, and that's
it was like 45-degree angle and then flat. But I'm on the angle now. Nice.
That's where you want to be, on the angle.
Crescendo.
Podcast. Be on the angle.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a weird one trying to. So by nature of what you do, and something that I think perhaps maybe gives you, I would infer would give you a more longevity in what you're doing, is that it feels like the way you're running I don't like saying running your business, although that is essentially what it is in terms of
no, you can say
stuff out there. because it always feels a little bit sort of artificial when you're talking about music, because there is something a bit more personal in there and a bit more, I guess, creative, but not to be putting down anyone that's just running a business. But it feels very much in service of providing something for people rather than putting music out there almost for your own benefit in some senses. Because I know you do a lot of educational stuff. That seems to be the main staple on your kind of YouTube channel, and you're talking about flicking through and finding what's sort of popular at the moment. A lot of people look at trends, myself as well, I'm guilty of it. They always just see them as a bad thing, like, trend's got to dodge that, can't be doing that because that's just trendy. But actually, if it sounds like what you're doing is more in service, and then as such, hopefully, should always have a purpose.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm definitely a trend dodger. I would say that. So I hear you on that. But for me, when I've had my little spikes, I've accidentally hopped on trends and not realized. Like, I released loads of Guns N' Roses content, just like close-ups of me playing stuff on Instagram and TikTok, just coincidentally, because I just thought, I'll do that. I haven't played that for a while, and maybe people want to see it close up. And it's fun. It moves around. It's flash. It's showy. It's cool. And then Thor was going into like trailers coming out and then going into the cinema. And guess what? That film is laced with Guns N' Roses. And I didn't realize they were touring at the time. So they're trending, for several reasons, and content everywhere, sound checks, live. And I just, like, one of my videos just went to 3 million. And I'm like, I've never had that on any platform. So I released a lot more Guns N' Roses within the next couple of weeks, and I realized what was going on. So
yeah, I never thought about that actually, because I'd seen it, but it never occurred to me, the whole Guns N' Roses. Because obviously Master of Puppets kind of took over as the trending thing.
After Kate Bush, yeah?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, who's that? I'm trying to keep up with it. One after the other. I'm kind of, my head's still on, I think I keep wondering. So I saw, like, The Dirt came out not that long ago. That was pretty popular. There was that Metal Lords on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that. That was kind of cool.
I watched The Dirt. Me and Gab watched that. Yeah. I think we were in London when I watched that. But I've not seen that one.
Oh, okay, it's quite good. It's like about a load of teenagers basically loving metal and making a metal band, and it's a pretty, like, typical kind of thing, but it's quite cool. There's loads of really good metal references. I think Tom Morello was like a creative director, and they had loads of cool, and they had loads of cool, like, cameos and stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure Rob Halford's in it, and then the whole Master of Puppets thing in Stranger Things. I'm like, I wonder if metal's going to go a bit more mainstream in a good way anytime soon. I don't know, because these little sparks of things, you're like, I wonder if, when you think of like Motley Crue, like playing to all these people. I know there may be a lot of purists might not call them metal, but like heavier, more rocky music, band-based music. I
think what it shows you is, though, when you pair like a song of any genre with something cinematic or something like spectacular, or a special moment, people are a lot more open than they think they are, and they don't necessarily live in those niche brackets of I only listen to this. Again, you'll see this though, like, how many people did you kind of see real Metallica fans? I say real because they are, but like, people started getting angry at the idea that these people who usually listen to pop might now start listening to Metallica, and they were scared they were going to have new fans coming over to their band. It
threatens your identity, doesn't it? If you're that closely, if Metallica and heavy metal is a big part of your identity, and suddenly that's, in your view, diluted, it's like, it kind of, you feel like it diminishes you. I mean, I'm not siding with them. I'm just saying, I can see where it comes from. Not that I think it's a good thing.
No, I guess but the flip side of it is then those people that find those bands in high school where maybe they do feel alienated from, like, the majority, and they feel like a minority, and they get them through, I don't know, tough times and stuff like that. People, that's the beauty of music, though, that it can change your life. It can like support you through tough times, or you can just love it because you just want to rock out and you like to dance. I don't know, but it's so funny that everyone's quite triggered nowadays by like anything.
That's a good way to sum it up. Yeah. I think I know with the Metallica thing, something that someone pointed out, like I can't decide if it's, I didn't quite like the way they said it, but I think there's a way of looking at it that is more beneficial, where they said something along the lines of, that music that you bullied me for, i.e. liking metal, well, people like it now kind of thing. And I thought that was a bit kind of cynical and a bit like, I got the point, but what I thought was maybe more positive was by having more alternative music. It doesn't have to be metal, there's plenty of alternative genres of music. I mean, if you take like Whiplash, like sort of jazz music's not particularly popular, grand scheme of things, but it opened people up to that idea. And I think it's good to see that in modern culture, because then it's not that so much, that what I was saying about the guy complaining about sort of someone bullying him for liking that genre of music or whatever. But it's more that when people hear that music, like you said, it opens them up to, when it's in a different medium, it opens them up to the idea of liking it, which I think is quite cool.
I think because we're such a screen, if this is the right way to put it, a screen-based culture now, we're basically bionic, aren't we? I think Elon says it. He says we're all bionic. It's just a very slow process going between this machine part of us now and our brain.
I thought that was quite a poignant thing, yeah.
Yeah, but you're more likely, I think, then to kind of try something new when you're watching, when it's force-fed to you in a film or a TV series. Because if you're flicking through like a load of albums or you like through your vinyl and you pick out like something with a big flaming skull on the front of it and you like, no, that's too angry for me. But if you see, Eddie Munson ripping Master of Puppets in Stranger Things, you're going to be like, oh, that's an amazing tune. And it like made me feel like badass. I want to put that on my gym playlist, but I'm not a metalhead. Then you'd have never stumbled across it and felt that way about it, maybe. Or you wouldn't have even found it because you don't flick through those kind of things.
Yeah. It's weird how we kind of, I have so many, there's a wasp nest above in my flat above, like on the roof. So it's not actually like my part of the flat, the kind of building needs to get it fixed. Oh no, it's a fly, it's all good. Or is it?
It was a big fly. I was like, I saw it.
See it?
It had a shadow.
Oh god. Yeah, it was. I think it's gone. But yeah, there's a wasp nest in an exposed bit of roof above my flat. So obviously, whenever I open the window, I'm under fire, basically.
It annoys me because like those things that live there like that, do they know like that you live and you either pay rent or mortgage? Like this is my building. Like what are you doing? You can't just hang off the edge of it.
Well, I'm always one. So, like, my parents live right in the middle of the countryside, and if ever I'm driving round there, quite often, like, pheasants will just be stood in the middle of the road, and you get closer and closer, and they just don't move. Yeah. And I'm like, and I never run them over, but like, the closer I get, I'm like, I guess this is natural selection. And I'm like, actually, hang on, there's nothing natural about a ton of steel driving towards this poor innocent bird that has no idea that the world has changed around it.
Yeah, that pheasant's like, it will not move.
No, they run away. That's what I found.
Okay.
Like, they'll be on the road and they just sort of run as if they might be able to outrun you in your car. Even if I'm going 20 miles an hour, it probably doesn't stand a chance. But yeah, that was a bit
They've been watching too many cartoons.
I'm sure they have. We're talking about getting exposed to stuff, pheasants and cartoons. Yeah, to be fair, in that part of the countryside, I don't even know if TV's a thing yet, like where my parents live. So... They literally. I think there's. I can't remember if. I'm sure my dad
pouring a tea out of shots. If you hear anything, I apologise.
That was a very sort of also aesthetic sound. The clinking and the pouring.
You're getting some free ASMR. Yeah. And we can't be truly British if we don't have a cup of tea. I'm
more of a coffee drinker. I feel like it just sort of.
You do not want to see me on coffee. It's like something out of the dirt.
So I'm never going to ask what you on anything stronger than that is like then, but there you go.
It was a different time.
Yeah. Well, let's tell you what. Let's go from that to something. I need some advice, right? Because so what I do with this podcast, I put out reels, and like little clips. So you'll get some of the podcast that I think are like the important or the the interesting bits of the podcast. I put them out on Instagram. Some of them do okay. I'm yet to have like a skyrocket one, if you know what I mean. Like
Okay.
I know you talked about kind of having the one that got like 3 million, and then that can just completely. I know for some people it's just one video, and then suddenly all the videos are getting that many views because it's just about being exposed to the audience. But I feel like I'm not doing anything wrong as such with the reels I'm doing in terms of, is the content interesting? I'm sure there are people out there that I know there are people that find it interesting. But it just doesn't consistently get a massive amount of views. Like, what would your advice be? So what do you think has been, if you could pick up on the main thing that maybe is, have you noticed what it is about your reels in particular, your short form content?
I know exactly what it is now, yeah.
what makes it successful?
It's just that I'm punched in on my hand. It's about, it was a vertical platform, and that's where I struggled because I always wanted to share bits of my content from YouTube, 16:9. And Instagram's like, no, that's not what we're about. And even IGTV, nobody wants to turn the phone around. Most people have screen lock on and don't even know that it does flip around. So, it's like literally, what can I do for this platform that will stand out? So it was like, I'm just going to give you like a kind of the zone, the perspective of how much thought might go into even the simplest things like a chord change or a riff. And when something moves, up the neck methodically, it's kind of hypnotic and satisfying to watch the hand land.
Yeah, it is.
At that point, and then be like, wow, there's actually a lot in that. Because if I said to you, if you never played guitar before, play this shape and then slide up to this one, it's impossible. And you can't believe that someone, and then you get that down, and then it's like riffs. So people say they just loop them around, and I try to get them at a point where it feels like it's not stopped. It's like a second repeat, and then you're like, oh, I've watched this 3 times. And I didn't realize. It's hard to do with maybe a conversation because you'd be like, I swear they were just talking about that. But I think,
God, he does go on.
Yeah, God, he just keeps going on and he gets the same answer every time. But it's. I didn't think people were going to find it valuable for learning. They're like, oh, this has really helped me out, because they're getting really in close to the finer kind of the finesse of a certain lick, or, oh, that's actually a little hammer on there or something like that. So it's been educational as a bonus, but it was just meant to be entertaining rather than the long form content, which was like more explanations of how to do this and a bit of theory and a bit of a story time when I sometimes read on my channel for comical effect. So, and the bonus is, the simpler I made it, the more people want to watch it. And I stopped stressing out as much because it's easier for me to do that than anything else I've tried, which is a nice compromise, because I feel like, I'm not saying I don't try now. I'm just saying that it's nice to not have to kind of spread yourself super thin on making content for all platforms. That's maybe as polished as YouTube, which is where the main bulk of the videos go. I don't know if you know this about me, but I did, when I was in London, I worked for Radio 2 and 6 Music on the social teams. So I do have experience with how planning for like reels in terms of podcasts and radio can be structured and made better as well. But it depends on what you want to do. So for example, and how deep you want to go into this conversation now, or maybe afterwards, like just between us. But if there are trends at the moment, or people are talking about stuff, or there's certain albums that have been released, or, it's about kind of factoring in those maybe short questions. Usually at the end, if I would do a podcast or I'd film something with someone on the radio, they'd be like, hey, can we ask you these 3 things at the end separately just for reels? So not even taking snips out, maybe just actually going. I do some stuff with my girlfriend. I edit her YouTube videos as well. The secret is out the bag. It's all me editing. She gets lots of compliments for it. but you'll notice that it's identical to my videos. It's shot over there. But we do like a little bit of extra stuff at the end where she might cut that down for a reel. And it looks like it's come from the same bulk of content, but it's been pre-planned specifically for a reel. And then you can be like, no more than 30 seconds, no more than 15 seconds, because that people will watch it all, which means the algorithm will be like, hey, they watched all of that and they watched it again because they liked it. Show that to more people because it's going to keep them on the platform for longer. Yeah,
it's so tricky because obviously what we're doing here is we're talking for quite a long time. Like as you would. I mean, yes, I've got some things written down, but like ultimately it's just kind of a conversation. And the tricky thing for me, go on.
I've got to say I've got an idea. I just had this is what I did. So I've got an idea right now of something you could do depending on if you wanted to try it. So for example, is it always guitarists you speak to, or is it?
No, it's anyone in the music industry really.
So you could do like a little thing with, I've written down what I consider to be 5 classic riffs that every guitarist or every musician does know. Do you know them? Can you go right now? I'm going to read them out. And then if I could try playing for you right now, you know?
Yeah.
And then I could fail miserably, and then you could just keep putting up, do they know Smoke on the Water?
Have you seen have you seen the video of is K-Mac when he does that video of like man attempts to play Eruption having never learnt Eruption before?
Yeah, well those are in, aren't they? And you chatted to Sophie. She does a lot of working at Polyphia where she gets the sweats. And then she's like, oh, fuck this, and keeps putting the metronome on, and she works out this stuff. She's phenomenal. She always gets it way quicker than I would, but it's like that as a challenge could just be your short form reel, you know? You could ask me right now, do you know Can't Stop? Yes. Do you know this? Do you know Song 2 by Blur? Yes. Do you know? And if I don't, well, you got 4 out of 5. Then have a little Top Gear leaderboard with who knew all the best. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a little
idea. Yeah. I'll think about it. I don't want to do it now because that feels unnatural.
No, not right now, obviously. Yeah. I've already told you all the ones I know. But those are little ideas.
I think the one thing I was thinking about was, so what I do is I put a little, I'll crop it so that it's vertical, so you have you and me, and then I put a little question and then a little thing like, so it might be something like, what do you think about blah, blah, blah. And then it'll be a question related to whatever we're talking about. But I think what I'm going to start doing is actually just clipping just you. Because unless I'm saying something, it's more, you see like someone's face, the full screen, rather than just me and someone else. It's weird.
That's important.
Yeah.
Because I did that again, the 6-minute stuff, it feels better. Unless it's for example, I did like a Steve Lamacq and Dave Grohl edit, right? So everyone knows Steve Lamacq and Dave Grohl, especially if you're a 6 Music listener. So it's great to have them both on. But when Dave's talking, full Dave, it feels very personal talking, especially if it's on Zoom. When the Zoom era happened, everything felt very personal because we were getting these very kind of basic phone shots and camera angles of people that we idolize that felt like we were on the phone with them. That's why Russell Brand kind of keeps his truths and his YouTube videos. They look very personal. You feel connected to them. So I think it's a good shout. Just go, don't make it all about me. Just like, but full screen. When it's
too modest.
Yeah. Full screen, but experiment. I'm not telling you what to do with your wonderful podcast. I'm an ideas person, so I kind of just that thing with the riffs or whatever. You could have a go at that.
Yeah.
I personally would find that fun. So just as a
I'll think about it. Yeah, the thing I try and do is I try to avoid being too formulaic on each, because I think for example there's a podcast I watch where he will very much do it in order of so what happened in your childhood, where are you at now, what's the future like, and that's great if you're really interested in the whole span of one person's life. But if you don't know who that person is, I don't really care much about their early life. I'm more interested in what they have to tell me about life now. So I try and keep it a bit more about what do we find important between us, and what are we it's a weird one, and
I like that.
Yeah, and I think hopefully people find that interesting, and the thing is I think some people are almost, when I chat to them, are almost nervous, like, have we covered these things? It's like, it doesn't matter as long as people know, as long as people feel like they are part of a conversation with you as a person. I don't think people mind. So I've got into some quite deep conversations about people's quite personal mental health situations and stuff. And then I think some people almost feel like if we don't get into certain conversations that they've done it a disservice. It's like, I think as long as you're yourself, I think, and going back to things like conforming to trends and stuff, I think it's more about being yourself. And I think you can almost set a trend in a way by just being you. I don't know what your take is on that, but I feel like that can, building something around you rather than the trends that are currently existing, I think is perhaps has more longevity than kind of, it's hard to balance really, but.
You mean like, can you explain?
So, it wasn't the best question. So,
no, it's okay. It's fine.
So I'm sort of saying that, like, I'm trying to, for me personally, by building the podcast, rather than asking you, for example, we talked about Eddie Munson and Master of Puppets. I could clip that bit and put that out, that very specific reference, just so I've got the soundbite about Master of Puppets, right?
Yeah.
But really, I mean, that might be the one of the more interesting parts, looking back on it. But really what I want to do is just take the three, I think, 2 or 3 most interesting things and kind of clip them together. What I want to try and avoid is sacrificing those interesting parts for just like sound bites, because I want to actually provide, I'm kind of trying to stay true to it, balance staying true to what I personally find interesting, so that I can then build an audience around that, rather than building an audience around people that have seen Master of Puppets come up, because that's kind of just everyone. It's about,
it's good. I understand what you're saying now. So you're staying true to, this is where I kind of hit a crossroads though. It's like what I'm passionate about and what I think people should like and what I think's good and worthwhile versus what will actually cut through the wealth of content that is now out there. And then if I do cut through with the kind of sacrifices I make, the personal ones, and do more of the kind of stranger things or hopping on the trends with the short form, am I then getting an audience people who expect this? And then when I think I've got my audience now to share this, it bombs, because they were never interested in that, because apparently that's not what you shared or were interested in either.
Yeah.
So I would definitely keep it balanced and make your way through. If you feel like you've gone through a tough period or whatever, then I would definitely make sure that you stick to your guns with what you enjoy and what you think is valuable, because it will be, and you believe in yourself. It will find the audience that it was supposed to find. But you can see it online sometimes with people who maybe go a certain way, and then they'll tell you they're not happy with that. So, and the chances are I don't want to use the word sellout, but some people do a lot of maybe sponsored ads for something, or I don't know. And then they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I actually want to just get back to making original music or something like that. So it's a tricky space to work in, but like you said, if you're set, exactly what you want to do and how you want the brand to be and what you want it to be about, then just stay with it.
I think it's such a tricky one to balance, because you want to, it's about finding the audience, but then making it something that resonates with you as well, to give it that sense, because you want to be able to do it for a long time. You don't want to just kind of, I think it's really hard, because I want to find that balance of getting people in just through the door, but I don't want to get them through the door for them only to realize they're not interested anyway. It's a really tricky one. It's so tempting to do that. So that's why, I'm gonna try and figure out my reels. But I had a couple of one. So I noticed you've done quite a lot of complete sort of segue, but I noticed you've done quite a lot of like Led Zeppelin stuff, kind of bit lessons or just sort of discussions of that. I don't know what my hot take on it is. I think they've got some great songs, but Jimmy Page's tone and his like improvised playing, I really don't like. So
It's so funny. It's like one of the most talked about things in the guitar
yeah,
community is Jimmy.
here's
The
our
word is Jimmy Page sloppy.
so
I've never talked about this on my channel because I'm a big fan. I mean, I've got that on my arm, so that's where.
so you can tell I'm not, because I don't fully know what that is.
It's a Led Zeppelin tattoo. Like you'll see it on the tour T-shirts and on their on the center of like the records and stuff like that.
Okay.
Swan Song.
Yeah.
The label. But basically, you don't like his tone. You don't like his improvised playing. Okay, that's fine. You see, I hear so many people say the same thing. This is where I stand. I think he is a phenomenal songwriter and riff writer, and he's also an awesome producer. Incredible, because the way that the tracks are mixed and the way that sometimes people go OTT with overdrive and fuzz and distortion to try and sound as big as Led Zeppelin. And it's like Led Zeppelin wasn't just Jimmy Page when you're listening to that track. It might be quite a clean, on the edge of breakup tone that's over here, and then you've got these enormous drums, and then you've got this glorious bass, and then Planty sitting right on top of that with a majestic vocal. So the sound of it, the grandeur is not just how loud and overdriven was Jimmy Page, but I think even the kind of spiky, brittle tones that you'll be talking about are essential to certain things because they're doing a job. Live, yes, there's definite moments where he's not been accurate, but I forgive those moments as a fan because I know everything that he has there. You hear it on record. You see it earlier on as well, in the live videos where that kind of playing wasn't as raucous, I'll say. But I think also you probably get to a point where you just feel so like relaxed and comfortable that you've succeeded and you've played these big shows and you've got these audiences and these fans that maybe you lose accuracy and you kind of smatter across some runs. But that's maybe when you get so excited and in that zone where you try and do something off the cuff and it doesn't pan out like Eric Johnson or Steve Vai hit it. But all those players, and like Satriani will even talk about it, are inspired by early Page. And I don't know, I've heard someone go up to Page before an interview and say, what do you think of this player who's playing something that is a bit rough? And he says something like, oh, I actually think that's rather quite good. I think that's rather good. Yeah, so he's not critical of other people, which he's like a true artist. He's not going to go, oh, they're crap of it. So I don't know. I got a lot of love for the guy. He's taught me a lot through his playing and through those records. So, and if you say, I understand exactly why you would say X, and I don't disagree with it. But also drugs.
that's a caveat for like a huge amount of players. You make a strong case. So I mean, like, on the
Live Aid, I've seen Live Aid, like from the Blaming Phil Collins.
Yeah,
he was pretty tight.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And plant his hair. But who am I to judge?
Yeah. I for the record, I'm with you on that. I just I was interested to hear your take. I think the same about when people talk about Metallica, like Injustice for All, and they don't really have any bass. You can't really hear the bass or whatever. But that record has like a sound to it. So I've got a really annoying light on my face now, haven't I? Oh well, let's just hope you're on Spotify. So that has a really distinct tone to it. That kind of I'm gonna have to move it. It's annoying me now. Hang on. There we go. Oh, hang on.
It's cool, mate. Take your time.
There we go. Let's light him. There we go. With Injustice for All, obviously it's missing a lot of bass sound, but whenever I know that record, like without even knowing what song, say you wipe my memory of the actual songs themselves, if you just played me a clip from that record, assuming I knew Metallica, I'd know exactly what I'm listening to. It's just, it has its own sound, and I think that's important.
It's like being dropped off like the little orange man from Google Maps in your hometown. I know where I am, I'll just watch it.
Yeah. It's like, have you seen those guys that have gone viral recently where they can find anywhere in the world by like just being shown a picture of it?
I've been in that TikTok wormhole. I have definitely seen that. And he punches into some like roundabout and like looks like Dublin, zooms in. It's like, probably this road, looking at the roof tiles. Oh, it'd probably be this area. Yeah. Oh, there's the little roundabout. There it is, click. I was like, what am I watching?
National security threat level.
I'm sure I've written like fake on every single one. You'll probably see that, like, because I don't believe it. I'm like, what is going on? They're like, they're probably those three twins from Minority Report or something, like, but they've got wigs on. I just don't know. It's like literally, I don't understand. The world like is enormous. I don't understand with a few clicks how you find in places like that. So
I guess if you do it enough times, and there are enough people in the world that someone's got to be interested enough in that.
No, I disagree. Like, you literally, like, just think about how big, like, I don't know. Think how long it would take you to memorize like London.
Yeah, I suppose.
From rooftop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it might be fake.
I'm going to make some of those videos, and then you'll know the fake, because I'll be doing it.
It'd be quite funny. I think it'd be quite funny, if you did it like all seriously, like them, just like, I think that's Copenhagen, click, and it's just like somewhere in South America. You're like, oh well, next one, just like,
and I'll just change the flag.
Yeah. I might have to do that. See if I go viral. But
then that's what the podcast will be like. You'll have to change the name. You'll just be getting loads of geographers on. Musicians be like, we had an interview lined up. What's gone on? Sorry, mate. Double book.
Busy
a bit busy, mate.
Yeah, I had like a sort of pop quiz. I've just realised what the light was. It's my keyboard. I thought it was like the sun isn't in my face. It was reflecting off my keyboard.
It was like a glitzy mirrored keyboard or something.
No, it's just a normal.
That's got some shine on that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 30 quid, not bad.
You see that right there. Now you can approach them. Sponsored
for a sponsorship.
Yeah,
Logitech.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've dropped the name now as well, so
it's sponsored. I'll get copyright strike or something. Anyway, I had a good pop quiz question. So, and this was prompted by my Jimmy Page statement.
Oh no, I'm terrible with pop. Go on.
No, not pop quiz. Well, it's pop quiz in style. If you could take, that's not even. Oh well. If you could take any guitarist, but swap their tone with another guitarist, what would you? Doesn't have to be Jimmy Page.
And they have to still be in the same band. Just like.
For example, you could have Jimmy Page, but give him like Slash's tone, or I don't know.
Ooh. So we want something different, don't we? Really?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be Jimmy Page. I'm just saying.
I ain't picking Jimmy Page because I'll get stoned tomorrow morning outside my house. I don't know whether to think about the person's tone I'm changing first, or the person's tone I'm bringing in as a sub.
I think you got to find who's you're changing first, and then fit it to that, haven't you?
But then is this you basically trying to secretly find out who I'm saying's got shit tone?
Yeah, I'm clipping all of this. Yeah. No, but it could just be one where you think someone else's tone would sound really cool on that other guy's playing.
Okay.
Van Halen on the Smiths.
We put some jangly chorused guitars, from the Smiths in Van Halen. So like when he's playing Ain't Talking About Love, he's got some like little chorused Rickenbacker going on.
Ping plong plong. Yeah.
Oh, that would sound glorious. And then you'd have to have. Can we put Morrissey in there as well?
Yeah.
Ain't talking about love. I'm gonna take. I asked the other day actually on one of my reels some of the most like iconic tones. I'm going to take Brian May's tone. That came up a lot because that is, from a few notes, Brian May. And I'm going to put Brian May's tone into
Well done.
you might have to cut me thinking out. Maybe it should be a thing where I went out for like a 10-minute walk and had a think and came back. I don't know. I'm going to put Brian May's tone into Slash.
Okay, that's cool. But then you're robbing Slash of his tone.
Yeah, but you didn't specify that. I had to feel bad about that.
Not really giving you many criteria.
So, right, with Slash's tone now, is that just in the bin? Or can that be passed on to someone else?
I'll have it.
Not bring my question to the next person who's having Slash's tone. And I've ruined your question. Slash, we'll put Slash's tone, AFD, into the Edge.
Oh, okay.
So we're really gunning up and making you two a little bit more heavy rock.
We both got sunglasses, so
exactly. And you wouldn't know whether it was the Edge or Slash because of the hat.
Also, that's put me neatly onto, I put as one of my points, hat. You got a really cool hat. Where does
I got a couple.
Oh, okay. But okay, so my question really was, what makes or breaks whether or not you're a hat person?
Meeting new people who've never seen you without one and whether they think it suits you.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you walk into a room or a bar with a hat on, I can guarantee you, and you've never worn one before, no one will go, God, they don't suit hats.
Yeah.
Because you've always worn a hat, according to them, the first time they've seen you. But half of it is like, ooh, does this look right on me? I never wore hats. I hated hats until about 2 years ago. And then I started wearing my Ernie Ball snapbacks because they sent me one out with my first lot of strings. So that's snapbacks over there. And then I just thought, you know what? I do like wearing them. And since I grew my hair out, other people with long hair look good in hats. And then you put it on and you're just like, oh, I look an idiot. I look so stupid. I look like a pound shop Stevie Ray Vaughan. What's going on? But some people write cool hat on, straight away. Or some people, I've had people, what's with the stupid hat, Sped? And I just write, what hat? And then they don't reply.
It's a bit like Meg from Family Guy. You've just got your brain. It's just like it's protecting your brain. Just an exposed brain above you.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and in some cases, the old bands that are still touring, sometimes apparently the hair comes off with the hat as well. It's on the inside.
Like Satchel from Steel Panther.
Exactly.
Not making any accusations about his hair. I don't know if it's real. I don't think it is.
Oh, God, no. I don't think so either. I think that's the beauty of it, though. He can go to Disneyland every weekend. I'm sure he does. But he's like, well, without the hair, he's like in disguise. Definitely the type of place he goes every weekend.
Why is he going to Disneyland?
It's the most public place I could think of in my head in America straight away. So
true. Also, Michael Starr, how old is he?
I reckon around 50.
I swear I thought he was like 70 something. As in, he looks younger. I think he's really quite old.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm casting all these aspersions about Steel Panther. They might.
Just as long as it's you saying it, not me. I love that band though. And that is the first time I ever met Sophie. I was drunk in a taxi in Manchester and I was scrolling down Instagram and I saw one of her videos and I sent her a DM just of me singing Steel Panther. And then she started following me and now we're in a band together.
That's a good way to start. That's a good story.
It's
starting a band.
She put it on Instagram the other day because someone asked her, and then I said, "Lies. Who wants to know the real story of how we met?" But that is the real story of how we met.
Yeah, that's cool. She's a hat person as well. Is she not?
Yeah, she's also annoyed that I have now stole that look for myself.
So she was doing hats before you?
Yeah, way before. So.
Oh.
But I was like, I want a hat. You look good in hats. And now she's like, well, I can't wear one if you're wearing one. So she's dyed her hair pink.
Also, you're going to have if you look at like a band lineup, if the bass player doesn't have a hat, you're going to look wonky because you're going to have like two hats, like left and middle, and then a non-hat on the right.
What about if we just had a hat on a mic stand on the edge of the stage?
Well, that would be silly.
But I think it would just at least the hat's there.
Well, people have tour mascots, don't they, to be fair?
We just have someone like Bez who just stands in a hat just to even out the hats. So,
do you watch Peep Show?
I have, yeah.
It just reminds me of a Peep Show moment. I can't quote it well enough. But anyway, that's.
But I just want to say, I feel like you're asking me whether, do you want to wear a hat?
Well, no, I don't know. So I can kind of suit the what's it called, like beanie hats, but like not like the loose ones, not like the kind of. But I feel like I'm not a hat person. I feel like especially the hair helps. I need longer hair.
Okay, yeah, but like, okay, I know what you mean.
I could maybe be like a gym cap person.
Yeah, you could rock one on the back as well.
On the back?
Flip backwards, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've just not been I'm definitely the kind of person that, like you said, if I turn up with a hat, everyone goes, hat?
Yeah, yeah. And then you just think, fuck off. You're only asking me that because you want to wear a hat. And you've not had the balls to turn up to this family function.
We found the cycle of why hats even exist now.
Yeah.
Someone had something on their head and everyone went, what's that? And he went, well, you just want one. And they went, yeah, I do.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have even been a hat originally. It would have just been a piece of fabric someone had just put on their head. What's that? It's a cloth. Why are you wearing that? And then the next time, do you see that? He went in a cloth. I want to wear one.
Yeah, maybe that's how. I need to do this with my reels now. Start just, why are you doing that? Well, why not? You just want to, yeah. I'm glad we figured that out. Well, this has devolved brilliantly.
This will happen when you talk to me. If you were ever in any doubt that I would just not talk, some form of shit at some point, you're, yeah.
Well, it's the way forward. I think we need to do more of that between us. I've got this bloody keyboard reflecting. Right, it's going over there.
You can ask me anything you want as well.
Huh?
Within reason, I said you can ask me anything you want.
Well, so I was going to actually, I think in terms of questions, you've actually quite neatly answered a lot of my, a lot of the things. Everyone seems to be quite good at this, answering. Or that means maybe I'm just good at topics, but then not actually asking them.
It's you. You take the credit, not me.
Oh,
you're
thanks,
good.
No, it's been really good. I think, like I said, I think it's good. I guess it's a good measure of hopefully I've kind of found out the right stuff about you. But yeah, I think, and hopefully people will find amongst the silliness, hopefully people will actually find some of it useful in particular talking about things like reels and stuff, just like how to, such a hard landscape to navigate, I think. That hopefully people can take something away. Or they won't, I don't know, they'll just enjoy the hat bit. I don't know, we'll see.
I think like the thing is we said about reels and social media though, my opinion really is to just honestly do what you love and put out content that you really enjoy playing, if you're music, crafting, whatever you're doing, and just find the best way to do that, because that's what you want to do. And if it's not what's immediately successful, that's why the guys from Stranger Things got turned down 13 times before it got made into the Netflix show. That's why Beatles and Queen didn't get the record label immediately. Like literally, if you compromise a little bit on, to grow your audience, that's fine. But I wouldn't throw your passions right out the window or put them completely aside just to get to a number of people that are interested, because you want people to be interested in the true reason you started the podcast, or the true reason you've started whatever you're doing, who's listening, because I know even if you didn't have end up with millions of views or this, that, and the other, you'd still be happier with doing what you enjoy every day rather than something you don't, because that's what's most important, I would say.
Did you
not being too serious?
So I had a clip.
You what? Sorry.
Did you just say that? So I had a clip. Yeah,
well, you sent me that bit of paper with what to read, didn't you? So
and all the audio listeners just believe you now.
I wish I had a bit of paper. You can put in a sound effect.
We've already got the T ASMR, so I might as well get some paper ripping or something. No, but yeah, no, you're right. That is Sped weighing on camera.
Yeah, now you see, you pay back.
Yeah, no, but that is, you're right though. Seriously, joking aside, I think that's, well, I hope you're right. But yeah, I think. Well, let's tell you what. Let's see. So we need a question for the next guest. To send the podcast in whichever way you'd like. So,
am I not allowed to know who it is? No.
I'll tell you after. But no, because I don't want it to influence your question.
Okay.
Bum, bum.
It's really difficult. How long did the last person take to think for their question?
I don't honestly remember. I'm trying to think now. I mean, people, I can give you time. It's all good. It can be as throwaway as you like. It can be deep and meaningful.
What was my question again? I've forgotten how.
Yours was the exact words, I think, were, what comes after the social media era of musicians, or will it remain? I don't know.
Okay.
But I have had some really stupid ones as well. So I've had to ask someone if they've ever shat themselves on stage.
Okay.
I'm going to have to put some elevator music in here.
Can you not cut it? I can't think. I'm pressured. This is what happens to me because I've got a million questions. I'm going to say, who was the first have you ever been attracted to a cartoon character sexually?
I'm not okay, well, I'm glad I get to ask that question.
And who?
That's a good
I just
one.
don't want yes. Who was
And
it?
who? Yeah, okay, and who? I'll have to I'm trying to think for myself now, which is not the point.
I know
I
this.
have no inclination to answer this question myself either.
I told my girlfriend who mine was, and we just laughed for about an hour.
Well, I mean, the whole reason I have no inclination to say yes is because the answer's yes. It's just like
Everybody's answer is yes.
Yeah.
When we first know we're alive. Look at this squiggly drawing on TV. I like you.
Well, that's my week sorted.
After all that thinking, all I know, all my experience of like this, that, and the other.
No, that was fully worth it.
I'm
like
going
that.
weird.
Okay, so yeah, that's good. That's fine. I'll tell you who I think is going to make you laugh. Who your guest is. I'll tell you afterwards. But yeah, and then also I need you to plug a band. That might be the funniest question I've had so far. Actually, I like that.
Yes.
So you can win that award.
I can even ask it you again, more structured. But if you liked it how it was, then that's fine.
I think you said it pretty structuredly.
It came out of 10 minutes of thought like this. And yeah,
that bit.
A band.
Or it can be any musical person, but like I've opened up because I used to just say band, but actually, or an artist, but it can be like a producer or just like a personality or anyone. A lot of people it is a band, but anyone you want to promote to the world.
So first of all, I'm going to be incredibly selfish because I'm about to start a new project with Sophie, Simon, and James. The band name is none of that's out there yet, but we've got new music, so you can follow us all on our socials because that's going to be coming out. It's going to be alternative rock, pop, and we're really excited about it. So that should be within the next couple of months. That's what I'm up to. But I'm going to, as soon as you said before, I was thinking about who I could shed some light on. And my partner's younger sister, she is in an electronic alternative duo called Sun, Moon, and Talia. And they make kind of really ethereal, kind of hypnotic music as a two-piece, and they play live. And yeah, they're really, really cool. And she edits and animates all of her own videos and stuff. And she's a real bag of creative tricks. And she does all of her own wardrobe as well. She's a fashion designer. So yeah, she's definitely deserving of some light being shone on her.
Wicked. I will make sure to get the plug in then. So, do you have also one last thing? If you have anything, you've kind of already done it yourself. Anything you wanted to plug or promote to the
That's
world?
how greedy I am. I went first.
Yeah,
It's like I never miss an opportunity. It's like if he's like, I don't know. He's like, you could.
but you gave a lovely description for your artist pick, so that's
Yeah.
If you have anything else you want to sort of share to the world, then hats. Try hats.
Well, my first hat. Yeah. No. Yes. Like I said, me and Sophie Burrell are. We first started working with each other about 2 years ago. I've took some photos for Soph. We've done a couple of collaborations on YouTube. This is the beauty of social media. We met online. Big fans of each other's playing. Now we're working together. We're about to go and do some photos and videos, single release, and then be working on a live show. So Simon and James, the other two guys, came onto the project a little bit later on, but it's just been so much fun having some other creative opinions. And James like really new to the project and like did his bass tracks and stuff within like a week of hearing everything. He's phenomenal. Simon's an incredible drummer. So yeah, it's really exciting, and there's a lot of love between us. And we just want to do like enjoyable, fun, alternative music. And like you said, I don't want it to be samey. Like you said before, you're going to hear those kind of influences that I wear on my arm, literally. The Zeppelin / Bowie, Fleetwood Mac, King Crimson kind of weird riffs, but we were trying to bring it to the forefront, like, and do it in a pop rock way, because we want to play good big shows, We're thinking big.
Nice. Thinking bigs. That's always good. Send you in the right direction. Or shoot. Hopefully. What's it? Shoot for the. I was about to say shoot for the moon, but then that's not like shoot for the stars, isn't it?
Shoot anywhere. For the moon, straight through space.
I think there's a long way to go. You need a hat.
Yeah, you do. If you're going into space and you've not got a hat, idiot.
Yeah. More on. Right. Anyway, on that note. Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.